Hello, bonjour, bon matin, and I'd like to make a video to talk about Stargate SG-1. Uh, why did that show is interesting for me, and is it still interesting, or was it just a phase, or what? Uh, I think that the writers and the actors, they have more knowledge than me in Bible topics as a Jehovah's Witness. Because of the archaeology part. So it's not the outer space part that is really interesting. It's not the villain part or resemblance with Star Wars or anything. It was because of the Egyptian part, because the pyramids. Some people believe that the pyramids are built by aliens, and because there's a lot of history tied into Stargate and the history of humanity. And it's not just history of humanity, but it's also the what is humanity, what it is to be human, what are the different parts of being human, and what the team is doing when they're going to another world is they're going to explore, trying to figure out, find what is out there, and a lot of the times they're discovering a lot of things about themselves and discovering about what it is that it is to be human, and so the different elements of, even if it's not a pretty thing, the different elements that make up a human. So those are just honest intellectual honesty to make yourself familiar with these different aspects that you have. So it's about, I guess, acknowledging the different parts of yourself, acknowledging the emotions, and even the confidence part or the non-confidence part. And then there's also the, not just in yourself, but in the relationship with other people. So you have different ways of being in relationship, and different, so it's so complex, it's so infinitely complex that you can't really find any answers, but it does show you what things are, and sometimes you can label it. Sometimes it's easier to put a label on it and say, oh, I remember that, that's sort of like that, it's really similar, so it's probably this, and it explains, and then you can put an explanation on it. And I think it really influenced me, that show, because when I was in the hospital and shelters, I was having inspiration and writing down or making a drawing about little comic, and a lot of the times had something to do with a story that I've had, or a character that I've seen in Stargate, because that was such a big show for me that I guess the storyline and characters get stuck in my memory. So I don't really notice I'm doing it unconsciously. So I think that this is my idea, and I make it my own. But then after that, I'm thinking, I've seen this before. That's a That's a plot line from Stargate. That's a scenario from Stargate. It's a character from Stargate. So doesn't mean that the show is such a big deal for me right now. It's just a show that I watched. It's not a big deal, but it is interesting because it really makes you think. This show sometimes when certain episodes, not the action parts personally, I don't really care for. It's much more when there's a reveal, there's a big reveal, and it makes sense. When it doesn't make sense, then that's another story. And when bad actors or people that don't really get the show or they don't really get the audience take big part of the role, then that doesn't work, and that really pisses me off. And I think it's pissing a lot of fans off when, or even when a character is acting in a way that you think this character would never do that. This is wrong. This is doesn't. It's not something that I would expect. It's not something that like or just a normal person would do, or at least that's not how I would do it. Or that's knowing him, I know that he wouldn't act like that. So there's a lot to be pissed off out of sometimes about that. When it's the and then there's the interactions, the relationship, and if it's is it somebody that is trying to keep the peace, trying to really say something that needs to be said. So I'm thinking that must be very challenging as an actor to be on set because you probably want to be more, do more than what you're allowed to. So there's certain rules and certain things that you need to follow. And I'm sure that you don't have a much say into what is the whole thing. You need to just do your part, and the team, it's a teamwork. So you don't have a lot of control over it. So that must be frustrating. And sometimes you probably, as like in the Jehovah's Witness, you think this is the wrong person that is in charge. So you would probably do things a lot differently, but you can't because you're part of this. So I understand why certain people quit or they don't want to be there anymore, or they get angry at people. And but I guess managing all of those things is part of the things that you need to learn. Uh, and then there's the background of people, and say some people click together. I know I've had projects in the past where I really enjoy my collaboration, and then something happens, it changes the dynamic, a new person comes in, uh, and things are not how they were, and then there's breakups, and it doesn't continue. So that's part of any project, that's teamwork. So there's nothing wrong with that, it's just normal. But I think that the characters, since they are very educated, the actors, the writers, they know a lot more than Jehovah's Witnesses know concerning their religion and concerning human civilizations, archaeology, the gods from the Old Testament. So you can feel that, I think, that when somebody knows. And not only that, but they want to help, that they see that there's an injustice, and they're ready to really make a difference and step in and improve the situation. So I guess that's part of being human. It's not just good people, or I've seen it in the shelter. Uh, there are people that really, if it wasn't for the homeless, for example, I don't think I would be alive today. So there's really people who show up when there is a need. And I think that's my shaman character. That is was a villain in Stargate, but in my comic is somebody who saves the main character. So yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it at that. I've already given the information about archaeology in other videos about what's the source of the Bible, what was like life in ancient times as humans. So I'll leave it at that, and the information is very easily accessible on the internet. So thank you. Bye.